The moment I sat down for my parole hearing, the board member in the middle asked to be excused. He didn't look sick, didn't look rushed. He just looked at me, then looked at the table, then quietly asked his two colleagues if he could step out. They exchanged a glance, nodded, and he left without another word. The door clicked shut behind him. I'd been inside for 6 years, counting down to this exact room, this exact chair, and the man who was supposed to decide whether I walked free had just stood up and left. My public defender leaned over. Don't read into it. I was already reading into everything. The two remaining board members introduced themselves without making eye contact. A woman named Dr. Hale, and an older man named Whitfield. They shuffled papers, murmured to each other, and asked me standard questions. What were my plans upon release? Did I have stable housing? A support system? I answered everything carefully, the way I'd rehearsed. I had a job offer from my uncle's contracting company. I had a room at my sister's house in Decatur. I'd stayed clean for 6 years, completed every program they offered, and hadn't had a single disciplinary write-up since month 4. What I did not have was any idea why the middle board member had walked out the second he saw my face. Whitfield closed his folder. We'll take a brief recess before deliberating. They left through a side door. I sat with my public defender in a room that smelled like recycled air and old carpet. That was strange, I said. Hearings get strange. Don't spiral. I spiraled. The man who left, I'd caught his nameplate before he stood up. Bernard Cahill. The name meant nothing to me. I'd never heard it in my life. But the way he looked at me before he walked out wasn't confusion. It was recognition. He knew exactly who I was. The reason I was in prison was a bar fight that went badly wrong. I was 24. A man named Dre started it. Threw the first punch, second punch, and third, but I ended it. And he hit the concrete curb on the way down and spent 3 weeks in a coma. The DA called it aggravated assault. My lawyer was court-appointed and overwhelmed, and I was convicted with a 7-year sentence. Dre recovered fully, but testified against me. His family had money. Mine did not. That's how it went. What I hadn't thought about in years, because thinking about it had never changed anything, was that Dre had an older brother who didn't come to the trial. Their mother said he was abroad for work. I never met him, never saw him, never learned his name. The side door opened. Dr. Hale and Whitfield came back in, alone. Mr. Cahill has recused himself due to a personal conflict of interest, Whitfield said evenly. He submitted a written statement to that effect. The hearing will continue with 2 board members, which is within procedural guidelines. What kind of conflict? My attorney asked. That information is part of his statement and isn't subject to disclosure in this proceeding. I sat up straighter. Is he related to the victim? Dre Cahill? The room went quiet. Dr. Hale looked at Whitfield. Whitfield looked at his papers.